everyone, welcome to Move the Finish Line. I'm your host, April Nowlin, and if you're looking for a podcast that's authentic, unfiltered, that may make you laugh and might make you cry, you're in the right place. Get ready for an exciting ride with me and my guests as we share stories of resilience, restoration, and winning at life from everyday women. My goal is to encourage you to break through the barriers that are stopping you from chasing your purpose. All right, let's get ready to move the finish line. Hey everyone, I'm so excited about this next episode with Nadine. But before we jump into that, I want to share with you guys about a really exciting opportunity on April 2nd. It's called Divorce Remix. What is Divorce Remix? I'm so glad you asked. It's a workshop for any woman who wants to love their life after divorce. So we'll be talking about things like how to create a new normal, how to let go of your past, what is your true identity now that you're not married anymore, and also things like the importance of self-care. So this workshop is for anyone who is actively divorcing, maybe you're newly divorced, or you've been divorced for some time and you just haven't bounced back. It's also for the woman who might find yourself in and out of unhealthy relationships. So join me, guys, on April 2nd for Divorce Remix. There's in-person tickets, there's virtual tickets, but I want to see you guys there. So hop on over to divorceremix.com and get registered today. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Move the Finish Line. I am super excited for season 2. Season 1, we really focus on stories of resilience, restoration, and winning at life. And so if you guys have not checked out season 1, make sure you get out there, listen to some of the incredible stories from these amazing women that I have been honored to have on the podcast. Season 2, we're talking about post-divorce. I know that thing that you're like, what? Who wants to talk about that? That's not fun. That's not sexy. It may not be, but there are so many women out there that may find themselves in a position where it's like, what the heck do I do next? And so this season, I have some amazing, incredible women that I'll be talking to just about their post-divorce bounce back story. And my prayer is that you guys will find yourselves in one of these stories. It will encourage you. It will motivate you to move the finish lines in your life. So my guest today, I just love this woman, guys. She is a friend. She is a sister. We've laughed together. We've cried together. We've grown so much together. Welcome to the podcast, Nadine Larder.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I literally almost started crying when you said we've laughed together. We've cried together. Boy, have we.
Yes, we have. Now, Nadine, she is, I always tell her I want to be like her when I grow up, guys. This woman is crafty beyond nature. She paints, she cooks, she's an entrepreneur, she's a mom, she's a wife. Sometimes I wonder when the heck does she sleep?
I do too. Wonder that same thing.
Exactly.
Like, when does the sleeping come in?
I know, right?
I'm telling you.
I tell you, she is such a joy. And so today she's going to share with us a little bit about her story, going through a divorce and just her journey of what she did after to kind of end up where she is today. So Nadine, tell us a little bit about your journey after your divorce.
Well, let's see. I should start out by saying, my name's Nadine. I'm 55 years old. I am a mother of 5. I am a grandmother of 3.
Woo!
I have lived the most incredible life. I really have had the most incredible life. And in that incredible life, I've had times where I really thought that I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
And there was some, deep, dark, ugly times that, I had to get to the other side of to be living this amazing life. And, I can recognize that a lot of it was in my own mind at the time.
Yeah.
But, I got divorced at 29. I'm 55 now.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got divorced, I had 3 children. I was the main breadwinner of my family at that time. And it was a very, very, very difficult time in my life. It was scary. I was terrified. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I didn't know if I was going to make it financially. I didn't know how I was going to parent 3 children by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just, the whole thing was very scary, and I just had to get through one day at a time to get to the other side. And I have to say that back in that time, I did allow my anger
Mm.
to get the very best of me.
Yeah.
I had a lot of pent up anger
Mm-hmm.
from, my marriage, from the divorce. I was sued for alimony.
Oh,
I was
wow.
sued for child support. I lost and had to pay all of the above.
Mm.
And it made me incredibly bitter during that time.
Wow.
Incredibly bitter. And you know me, April. I am not a bitter
Yes.
person.
No, she is the most giggly, laughy, smiling person you will ever meet.
Not at that time, I wasn't.
No.
I was
So,
mad.
so you're dealing with all these emotions. And that's one of the things that when I coach women, I talk to them about the emotional journey, right? Because it can be like a roller coaster.
It
Like,
is a roller coaster.
yeah, like
You
one
know?
day I'm happy. The next day I'm like, I haven't stopped crying all day long.
Yeah. And it's like, the anxiety, it's like, I did divorce my first husband in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got married again in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was separated. I've been separated 3 times from my husband,
Wow.
my current husband, and we're still married. But it's been a challenge. And during those times when we were separated, my anxiety, it's like I really feel for people who have anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
I had never really experienced a full on like anxiety attack of like what is happening.
Yeah.
And being when I was separated from my current husband, it was like I was having these anxiety panic attacks
Mm-hmm.
every day because I was living in a space of fear
Yeah.
instead of living in a space of abundance. I was so focused on what I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
instead of focusing on what I did have,
Mm-hmm.
that it like overtook me.
Oh, that's so
And
good.
and it's like back when I was 29 and going through my divorce from my first husband, like I said, my rage definitely took over.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to have chronic talks with myself.
Mm.
And, luckily I was in a period, I was in a chapter, in a season, whatever you want to call it, of my life where I was really focused on self growth.
Mm.
I had been introduced to authors like Wayne Dyer. I had been introduced to Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
I had been introduced to all of these people, these authors who were there to hold my hand as I went through this deep despair and all of this anger. And a lot of my deep despair and anger had to do with somebody trying to control my money.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come to the realization, and this was the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing. And if I can say this to anyone who is fixated on the financial aspect of going through a divorce and the fear, because there's a lot of fear associated with that.
Right.
Money equals survival to a lot of us.
Yeah.
And it did to me at that time. And the thing that I realized is money is simply energy that comes and goes.
That's so
And
good.
it flows in, it flows out, it flows in, it flows out. It's always in flow, and there is always more coming.
That's so good.
And when I was able to sit in the comfort of knowing there's always more coming, I am a person of strong faith. I believe God has my back. And I really had to also depend on my faith, knowing that God would make sure I was taken care of, like
Yeah.
that it would all work out. And I'm sitting here today. So guess what? It all worked out.
It all worked out. And I'll tell you guys, it worked out pretty darn good for Nadine.
Well, thank you, April. I really
At least from this side of the table.
I'm living my dream. I really am living. I have my moments. I don't want anybody to think that I'm, skipping through life where, I had a meltdown. I had a meltdown on Wednesday. I had a complete melt. It was a week ago. I had a meltdown a week ago over something really stupid. And so I don't want anybody to think that my whole life is just rainbows and ponies and glitters and corn, and it's not.
Right.
However, I can also look at the big picture and know that, yes, my life really is rainbows and ponies and unicorns and glitter when I don't allow myself to get wrapped up in the other stuff. Other stuff happens.
Yeah.
It just happens. And, I'm learning. I continue to grow. I continue to learn that there's not good or bad. There just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as long as I stay in the present moment, I know I'm okay.
That is so good.
Well, thank you.
So, you're now this single parent. You've got these 3 kids, right?
Scary.
Your emotions are kind of all over the place. What was a turning point moment for you? So you said, you're in this space of, I'm trying to find myself. And, we know that as women, when we get married, a lot of times we lose ourselves, right? So now
I lost myself, girl.
Right. We're mom now, or we're wife now. And it's like, okay, what happened to April? What happened to Nadine?
I got lost.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So what did that journey look like of finding Nadine and finding who Nadine really was?
I could tell, it's funny. I have this one very clear moment that happened during my separation, my divorce from my first husband. His name is Kurt. He's a very good man. We are dear friends, which is others. I hope that we can also talk about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we are dear friends. So when I was married, I got married. Kurt was my first love. We started dating when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
And we got married when I was 21, and our first daughter had already been born.
Okay.
And so I got pregnant at 20. We were not married. We lived together, but we were not married. And we just took the next logical step of getting married. And then, we had 2 more kids. And during that time, April knows that I have a big personality.
Yes.
I really do have a very big personality. And I'm not bragging on myself. It just is a fact. I just do. And my personality was squished during my marriage. And it was because, and I own that. That's all on me. I allowed somebody to dim my light. I allowed it. I participated in it. I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know about boundaries. I didn't know how to speak up for myself because I grew up in a very similar situation. And so when I made the choice, it was, it's like making the choice to leave my marriage because it was me who decided to leave.
Right.
And when I decided to leave, it took a long time getting there. We were separated. We got back together for 2 years. I tried really hard. And the one thing I will say that I feel really proud of, I earned my way out of my marriage. And I think it's really, really, really important to earn your way out.
Oh,
because
that's good. Tell us more about that.
Well, when you earn your way out, you did the work. You went to the counselors, you seeked, maybe you go to your church, wherever it is that you can get that outside, not within. You have to go out and find an expert to help you see what you cannot see. And Kurt and I did the counseling. I did the work to try to save my marriage. I'm currently in counseling with my current husband. Tom and I are in counseling because we have issues that are not resolving. And it's like, if we don't resolve these issues with the help of a professional, then you know what happens. We go our separate ways, and we both don't want that. So we're willing to do the work.
That's good.
Kurt and I did the work. We earned our way out. We couldn't make it work. And with that, I did lose myself, and I did lose my voice, and I didn't know how to speak up. And it's just so silly because I do have such a big personality. And so following the separation, we weren't divorced yet, but I got a call. I'm very close with my family, and I got a call from my cousin. And my cousin called, and she goes, "Hey, I just wanted to call and see if you and the kids wanted to come over for a barbecue." April, I was paralyzed.
Wow.
I was completely paralyzed when she asked me that question on the phone. We were on the phone. And I literally am like looking around going, I don't know, because I don't have anyone to ask permission.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's okay if I go and have a barbecue with my cousin, because there's no one for me to ask. Should we do this? Is this okay? I literally learned in that very moment that I did not know how to make a decision. I did not know how to make a simple decision of, can I get in my car and drive 10 minutes away for a barbecue? I was paralyzed, and it helped me to see how I had really given myself my voice, my power, my opinions, everything. I just gave it away. I didn't stand in my truth. I didn't stand for what I wanted. I was so young when I got married.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And so that was a big turning point for me, to understand that I needed to learn how to make decisions for myself, for my children, for my family, that benefited me, my family, my children. That was what I wanted to do. That was the life I wanted to live. You know, it's like I gained my autonomy back when I left my ex-husband, but then I didn't know, and I didn't know how to operate it. It was like, I had this machine that I'm like, where's the manual for this thing? I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So it was very, very, very difficult for me to learn how to make decisions by myself.
Wow. I think a lot of us get stuck in that space because you're so conditioned to let me check with the other person.
Yes.
And we're talking through things. And now it's like, wait, I have to make this decision on my own by myself. And
it's very challenging.
Yes. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that's where our faith comes in, right? Because even though we may feel alone, we're not necessarily alone. Like we still have to make these decisions.
Yes.
But that's where I think our faith comes in realizing that, hey, we're not alone. Even though we feel that way.
Yes.
So you now got this realization that, wait a minute, I lost my voice. I know exactly how you feel. My last marriage, I felt like you said, I had been squished.
Yeah.
And I had been conditioned to not use my words growing up. Because you know me, I'm a talker.
Me too.
And growing up, all I heard as a kid was, you talk too much. Stop talking. You talk too much.
God.
Right. And
story of my life.
Yes.
I'm serious. It's the story of my life too.
Yes. And so, we get into these relationships, and what's the first thing you do? Well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to, not talk as much. And we end up losing our voice. So now you're out of this marriage and you've got this aha moment that I don't have my voice anymore. What are some of the practical things that you did? And let me say this, guys, not overnight, right? This didn't happen overnight. This didn't happen overnight. No. But what are some of the things, you mentioned books. What are some of the other things that you found yourself doing to help you find your voice and rediscover who you were?
Well, practice, number one. You got to practice, and you're not going to be perfect at it. And you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to screw up, and you're going to be like, dang, I wish I hadn't done that. This, that, and the other. You got to remain strong in your faith. It's like, I had to keep the faith that it would just all work out, and remind myself that I'm okay in this moment. Get yourself a good counselor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a good therapist, a good counselor, a good life coach, a good, like what you is, I cannot begin to tell you that my coaches, my counselors, my therapists have been essential
Yeah.
to my recovery, to my growth, to my being comfortable in my own skin. It's like, April knows I used to be obese, and it's like, just my counselors, my coaches, my guides, just it's all of the outside help that I allowed in,
Mm-hmm.
helped me get to the other side. And you guys, the only way out is through.
Yes.
The only way out is through. You got to sit in the pain. You got to sit in the discomfort. You actually got to thank it for being there. It's like, thank you for making my life so miserable in this moment. It's like because if you don't acknowledge your own suffering, if you don't acknowledge yourself, it's like you are then squishing your own voice. I grew up
Yes.
like you, being told constantly, I talk too much. Can you just be quiet? You're to be seen and not heard.
Mm-hmm.
Just all of that nonsense that especially us as girls are taught.
Yes.
And, learning how to speak up. I lost my train of thought of what I was saying and leading to where I
And
was going.
this is why I love Nadine, guys. This is exactly why. So we
'Cause
were talking about the things that you did, and you said a word that I use a lot in my coaching, the word recovery. People don't seem to think that you have to recover from a divorce. And if you guys know my story, I've been divorced 3 times. Yes, 3 times for those of you guys hearing it for the first time.
And you are shining bright, girl.
Thank you. I did the work.
Yes, you did. And it shows all over your energy. I love seeing you sparkle and shine. And I just want to tell y'all, I've known April for a really long time. And this girl is sparkling like I have never seen her sparkle before. That's all. I'm just saying.
I wish you guys could see my face right now. See, that's why I love Nadine. She'll pep you up, boy. So, so we were talking about recovery. And so when I tell my story, I tell people that I am a 3-time survivor of divorce. And people were like, survivor, because I know women that haven't survived it. I know women that never came out. I know women that never recover. And that's why I like to use the word recovery, because it's almost like when an addict has to recover, you're recovering from something that you could have been addicted to. You are recovering.
And it is an addiction.
Yeah. It's behaviors, it's lifestyles, it's, it's different things that happen in your life. And so it is really a journey of recovery. And so you were talking about, books that you read.
Childhood and stuff. Yes.
Yeah. Our childhood, one of the things that I learned, because people always ask, well, why the heck did you do it 3 times? Because I didn't learn the first 2 times, guys.
I
didn't do the work. But the 3rd time, my daughter was here. She was 10 years old at the time. So 3 years ago. And I knew that I wanted better for her. So that was my turning point, right? That was my, I've got to show her something different. But I remember when I went to counseling, and the first thing she asked me was, tell me about your childhood. And I thought, this has nothing to do with my childhood.
It has that's what I was talking about when I got lost.
Yes,
it has everything to do. All you're doing is repeating. You're just you're in a loop. It's like, I was saying to my husband the other day that sometimes I feel like I'm just in a loop.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the Matrix, even though I've never seen the movie The Matrix. I get the sense of I understand what it's about.
Right.
And it's like I'm in the Matrix and my life is just looping.
Yeah. And
because I'm not learning the lesson that I'm to learn. And what I was saying when I got distracted and lost, thank you, ADD, is I grew up being silenced.
Yeah.
And then I took over where my parents left off. then I silenced me.
Yep.
Because that is what is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you grow up in this environment where you're constantly silenced, especially when you have a big personality like me, it's, it's like I'm in a loop of constantly, if I'll go find somebody to silence me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's funny.
Including myself. I silence myself because and it's like, I have to hear me. I have to be here for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to treat me the way God would treat me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
And if I can only love and cherish and nurture myself the way God would cherish, love, and nurture myself, imagine the life that I'm living when I can just love myself as much as God loves me. If that's even possible. I don't know if that's possible, but
at least
if I can work at it.
Yes. See ourselves the way God sees us. That is so good. So in the beginning of your story, we talked about our relationship with our exes. And so for those of you guys that know me, me and my daughter's dad have a great relationship. We are friends. We co-parent well. Some people even think it's weird because we get along so well. But it's something that we worked at. And Nadine, you're in the same boat. So you hang out with your ex.
I do.
And, in different things. And so share with us a little bit about, that journey.
It was a journey.
Yeah. Of how you guys got to this place where, you're friends.
We are friends. So, I will go back to 1996 when we split. And one of the agreements that my ex-husband and I made, and I think it's an imperative agreement if you can make the agreement, if you have a cooperative partner in parenting, that we would never, ever talk poorly about the other to our children. Mm-hmm. And I cannot stress enough, anybody who is listening to this, if you talk poorly about your ex to your children, you are not hurting your ex. You are hurting your children. It is not their responsibility to make you feel better. They are not your therapist. They are not there to comfort you when you're feeling down. I'm sorry if I'm coming across a little stern right now, but I think this is imperative, that the toxicity that can come in and infect your children is not fair to your children. It's not fair. And my ex-husband and I made that commitment with one another. We had plenty of struggles. We had plenty of fights after we split. We had plenty of disagreements. It's like, one time I went to pick up my second daughter. She was like 9 or 10, maybe younger, maybe 7. It doesn't matter. And she had really long hair. And I go to pick her up one day from her dad's house, and she had a bob haircut.
Oh my gosh.
Her hair literally was all gone. I was not consulted. I was not talked to about it. It was like I didn't even exist.
Oh, wow.
And it sent me into a rage. I was so enraged and angry and bitter when this event happened. Mm-hmm. And it's, that's just an example of some of the stuff that we went through. Yeah. But you know what, guys? It's only hair. I didn't know it at the time. I was like 30, 31, 32 years old. I was young. It's only hair. It grows back. But for me, it was a control. I was fighting over control of my child. Mm-hmm. And Alyssa is just as much his daughter as she is my daughter.
Yeah.
And, we fought over, cheerleading stuff. We fought over homework. We fought over, you name it.
Yeah.
We fought over all of it. And we also did our very best when we were having these fights, not to have our kids in the middle of it.
Right.
I never talked bad about my ex-husband to my kids, because insulting my children's father is insulting them. Mm-hmm. My children are my ex-husband's DNA.
Yeah.
They are part him. To hate him is to hate my own children. Ponder that for a moment. To hate your ex is to hate a part of your children.
Yeah.
That is not fair. It is not okay to allow your bitterness, your anger to seep out onto your children and infect them. I have very strong opinions about this, if you can't tell.
Tell us how you really feel, Nadine.
And during this time, he, my kids have a stepmother that has entered the picture. And I went round and round with her because it always felt like she was just trying to step in and be their mom. And she used to make me so angry, and I would make her so angry. And we would have these fights, and it was not pretty. It was not pretty at all. And we'd also be showing up to the football games together, the cheerleading stuff, the hockey games, whatever it was. And we're all trying to be cordial to one another to keep protecting the kids. But come on, the energy was thick, man. So fast forward to 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. This is how long it took, guys. 3 years ago, approximately, I'm at my ex-husband's house to pick up something. One of my kids, I don't even remember. And his wife comes out. And the funny story about my ex-husband and his wife is that my mother actually set them up after we split up. My ex-husband's a good man. He is a good man. We just weren't the right pair.
Wow.
And so my mom is like, hey, I know this gal, Cindy. You remember Cindy, right? I'm like, yeah, I remember Cindy. She's so nice. Well, what do you think about me setting Kurt and Cindy up on a date? And I'm like, I don't care. He's not my husband anymore. Go ahead, And so then Cindy and I end up in wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like the nicest person. She is the nicest person. And I could never understand why we were constantly battling.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward to 3 years ago, I show up at my ex-husband's house. She comes out. We're talking. We're being cordial. And I noticed a shift, and I couldn't even explain it to you. I don't know what happened. I still to this day do not know what happened. She is one of my very best friends in the whole wide world.
That's awesome.
I love her dearly. I could cry because she is such a beautiful human. And I always knew that. But there was just this tension that I could never really understand. I couldn't understand it because April knows me. I just want to be friends with everyone.
Yes.
And it was very painful. And through lots of work on myself and Cindy, I don't know what changed in Cindy. It doesn't matter. We've been able to really have a beautiful friendship. And this summer I went, my husband has to work. And so he wasn't able to go, but I literally went on a family vacation with Kurt, Cindy, my kids, my grandkids, my daughter's in-laws, and we all went to Disneyland together.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
I was there without my husband. So, they all had their partners and stuff, but it was just me by myself. And it was just a beautiful experience because it's like, I'm on vacation with the person who was, some people might say your sworn enemy or whatnot. And it's like, the thing I've never understood is I was deeply in love with my ex-husband. I loved him dearly enough to have 3 children with my ex-husband. We grew up together. We met when we were 16 years old. We divorced when we were 29. That's a whole chapter of life that we went through together. And I really loved him so much. The fact that we couldn't make it as a married couple doesn't change the fact that I still have love for this man.
Yeah.
He's like a brother to me. Like I have not 1 ounce of romantic love for my ex-husband at all. I love him like a brother. And it's like, if I was to call Kurt right now and say, Kurt, something terrible happened to Tom, the kids, blah, blah, blah. I need you and Cindy to come here. I'm having a disaster. I am telling you, my ex-husband would get in the car and he and Cindy would be here within 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
They would be here. because that is the type of relationship we have. I want his happiness. I want his well-being. I want him to have the greatest life that he could ever have and enjoy, because that spills out over onto my children.
Yeah. You know, it's
I
funny.
wish-
It's so funny that you talk about, wanting him to have a good life and
I
his
do.
well-being and his health. I remember when Ray's dad, when he remarried, and she and I, we've been not necessarily close, but we've been good, right? They've been
Right.
married, I think, almost 10 years now, or 8 or
Right.
9 years, somewhere in there. And so someone asked me once, how did you deal with him being remarried and things like that? Well, first of all, I worked on myself, right?
You
So
have
like
to.
you,
It's all about
those
you.
romantic feelings weren't there, right?
No.
I had let go of any of the hurt and the bitterness and anything that came out of our marriage. So I wasn't holding on to that. But ultimately, I wanted him to be happy so that he could be the best father he could be.
Exactly.
And I'm going to be honest, when I saw them together, I was like, she makes him happy. And if that makes him a better father, so be it.
Exactly.
And
Cindy
that
and
has
Kurt are a much better pairing than me and
exactly
my ex. They are so much. I drove my ex bonkers,
Yep.
and he drove me bonkers, because he is like, Kurt is like the best way I could describe him is like Mr. Clean, the Mr.
Oh
Clean
yeah,
guy,
yeah.
and I'm Mrs. Not. I'm clean. My house is clean. I like things clean, except I also have very bad ADHD, and I leave things laying around. And,
yeah.
it's like there's clutter in my world because
Yes.
my mind is cluttered, and it's just my
Yes.
world is just a representation of what's happening in my head. And Kurt's mind is not.
Yeah.
And so the representation of what is in his head is very different. And it's like that. We were not the right pairing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make me a bad person. We just weren't the right pairing, but they are.
Yeah.
Because she keeps things organized and clean, and, she's the right person for Kurt. I am not.
Yeah. And I think realizing that is such a healthy statement, and it allows you to co-parent from a healthy place. Yeah. And I've seen it in my daughter. And I remember, because like you, I chose to leave my marriage for many of the same reasons. And I remember having people, our pastors at the time, our close friends, saying, this is going to ruin your child. And,
oh my gosh.
And all these things. And let me say this, y'all, I am an advocate for marriage. I believe in marriage. I believe that marriage is a good thing. I don't believe you just jump ship from your marriage. Just like Nadine said earlier, you do the work. When I left my marriage, I left with peace, knowing I had done everything I could do to make this work. So there was no regret. There was no, well, I wish I could have, or I wish we had a, we did those things.
I have no regrets at all.
Yes.
None.
And in the same boat. And so I think that wanting the best for your ex and vice versa is healthy for your children. And so now.
And it's healthy for you.
Yes.
When you live in the space of gratitude, when you live in the space of you want joy and happiness for others, when you live in the space of it's everything, it's all going to turn out, that the universe, God, whatever you call it, has your back. You can sit in the peace of knowing it's going to be okay.
Absolutely.
Because it is going to be okay, even when it seems like it's not. It's going to be okay. It's so like, good. Who of us, if, it's like some people will ask you the question, like, if you could go back to when you were 25 and tell yourself one thing, what's the one thing you would tell yourself? It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. And that is such good wisdom. Yeah. If I could go back 20 years to my first marriage, I'd be like, you know what, April, it's going to be okay.
It is.
You're going to be all right.
Isn't that the one thing that, you having been through 3 divorces, me being through 1 divorce, 3 separations with my current husband. It's like the one thing that we can tell people for sure, it's going to be okay.
It's
It
gonna
doesn't
be
seem
okay.
like it's going to be okay, but it's
But
going
it
to be
is.
okay. And when you sit, one of the kindest things that you could do for yourself is get a journal. And when you sit with your journal and you ask yourself in that journal, am I okay in this very second in time? You would not be able to write in your journal if you were not okay at that time. You wouldn't be sitting with your journal if you're not okay in that time. And if you just stay in the present and you keep reminding yourself, I'm okay in the present moment. I'm okay in the present moment. There's nothing wrong with me. It can help you get grounded and back to you.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world. The past is in the past. It's over. You can't do anything about it. The present is all you've got, and the future hasn't happened yet. And, there's no sense in worrying about the future. It hasn't happened.
That's good.
And
That's
we spend
so
too much time worrying about what's going to happen. I have spent way too much time worrying about what's going to happen instead of recognizing that I am okay. There's nothing wrong.
Yep. That you are okay.
I could sit and spin out of control right this very second if I wanted to about, what's going to happen. I'm not going to be okay. It's all going to fall apart. A house of cards. And you know why I can spew all that out? Because I've been there.
Yeah.
And when I reel myself back in and I remind myself I'm okay in this very moment in time, I'm fine.
That's so good. Well, Nadine, I want to say thank you and thank you and thank you again.
Thank you.
Just hearing your story, hearing your journey, your moments of laughter. I love it all. And I hope that everyone listening, that you guys get at least one nugget. I mean, I got probably 20 nuggets today just listening to Nadine, and I've known her for, I feel like, forever. But Nadine, just in closing, if there's a woman listening who is at that point that you were at 29, and they're like, look, I've got, this new chapter ahead of me. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I might have kids. I might be, thinking about finances. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to stay in the present moment. I would say one of the quotes or questions or something that somebody gave me, my friend Jennifer gave it to me years ago, is, and I encourage you guys, get a pencil, write this down. Does this feed my aliveness? Whatever you're doing, whatever happens throughout the day, whenever you're going to tangle, whenever those anxieties come up, whatever it is, and how you react to it is, does this feed my aliveness? Or is it having the opposite effect? And it's like, if we just focus on the things that feed our own aliveness, think about the growth. It's like you feed your own aliveness with your mind, feed your own aliveness to your spirit, feed your own aliveness to your body, feed your own aliveness to everything in your existence. And when you feed your own aliveness, you live.
That is beautiful.
Well, thank you. I don't know where it came from. I just give it all to God because I don't know where that came from. But
amen.
Hey, it awesome. Just comes through. It's not it's through. I don't know where it comes from.
Amen. Well, Nadine, let the listeners know if they want to connect with you. So Nadine does some things around cooking, some healthy eating, healthy living, healthy lifestyle. Where can they connect with you if they want to learn more about you?
I am on TikTok. I have quite a following on TikTok. I'm becoming TikTok famous. Woo-hoo! So I have a gamgams.kitchen where I teach people how to eat based on my own journey from obesity and gaining my health back. I was very, very sick. And I also have Weight No More Wellness, which is teaching the journey of getting your mind right to your wellness journey. And I have a Facebook group, and I'm on Facebook. You can find me there. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on all the social media channels. I love social media. And so really, if you just search Nadine Larder, you can find me on any of the major social medias. I don't tweet and I don't do LinkedIn, but the rest of them, I'm there. Look me up.
Awesome.
Connect
Awesome.
with me. Let me know.
Awesome. And I'll drop some of those in the show notes so people can easily find you. Well, Nadine, thank you again for being
Thank
here. I
you.
have been just truly blessed and honored to have this conversation with you and to share it with my audience.
Likewise.
Thank you once again
Thank
with the prayer that someone's going to hear your story, that is going to encourage them. It's going to motivate them. So for those of you guys listening, thank you again for listening to another episode of Move the Finish Line. I am just excited to hear your stories, to hear your, your stories of growth and resilience and restoration and moving your finish lines.
Yay.
All right, y'all. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I pray that it encourages you and you were able to laugh a little bit along the way. Now, if you know someone who has a story of resilience, restoration, and winning at life, let me know. I would love to share their story with my audience. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you guys don't miss a beat. If you want to connect with me, hop over to aprilnowlin.com where you can learn all about how I help women to cultivate their purpose so they can impact more people. You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram and Clubhouse under April Nowlin. Thanks again for listening.